Thank you, Matt. Our top story this morning, the nation mourning 9 members of the National Guard from Puerto Rico after their plane crashed into Savannah Highway.
You know, there's families that's going to be hurting for a long time, and we're just going to have to stick together and do what we need to do as a city to get through this.
The U.S. Congressman for that area, Buddy Carter, says he and his wife are heartbroken and praying for all involved in the C-130 crash. And President Donald Trump also tweeted out that staff briefed him on the situation. He is asking everyone to join him in praying for the victims, their families, and the great men and women of the National Guard. Now, here in Central Georgia, so many of you are pouring out sympathy on our 13 WMAZ Facebook page as well. Janice writes sweet blessings and condolences to these families. She is praying for peace, love, and strength going forward. Donna also sends her prayers. She says, may the ones who lost their lives rest in peace. Thank you for giving your lives to make our country safe. And Vanessa says she is also praying for the loss in Puerto Rico. She writes, my island has gone and is going through so much. Some of you will remember even before this tragedy, Puerto Ricans have suffered widespread flooding, blackouts, and shortages after last year's hurricane season. If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can head on over to our 13 WMAZ Facebook page and join in on the conversation. And this morning, cleanup continues in Savannah. Ryan Gazaway walks us through the events just after that crash.
In what was an all-hands-on-deck response, hundreds of first responders converged on this crash site in Port Wentworth. The flames and smoke from the explosion billowed hundreds of feet in the air. On the ground, there are no confirmed survivors.
We're not releasing any numbers until we get an accurate count of everything, and we want to make sure that when we do come forward that we're accurate with our numbers and that the families have all been notified.
At least 5 people were on board the C-130 cargo plane. The crew from the Puerto Rico National Guard crashed minutes after taking off at the airport.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to them anytime we lose any of our brothers and sisters in arms. It's devastating.
The crash site on the ground spans Highway 21 and nearby CSX railroad tracks.
There's about a 600 by 600 foot debris field.
The military and federal government are leading this investigation. Hundreds of police and firefighters from nearby cities and counties answered the call for help. That support proved vital in the minutes and even hours after that crash.
We are a 30-man department. This is something that we're reaching out to every agency, the State Patrol, the Motor Vehicle Compliance. We're going to be reaching out to the Georgia National Guard for MP support in the morning.
Highway 21 could be closed for weeks. Once the plane is moved, construction crews may have to repair the road. First responders say it's nothing short of a miracle that no one on the ground died or got hurt in the crash.
Again, officials have now confirmed 9 deaths in the crash. Now, even though the plane didn't hit anyone, the crash is still affecting people trying to get around in the city. This morning, there's no estimated time for that stretch of Highway 21 to reopen. Law enforcement says the military has to investigate the crash before crews can go in and clean up the rubble. Then the Department of Transportation will start working on fixing that road. Officials say getting back to normal operations will be slow and difficult.
We're going to stress to the local population, this is going to drastically affect your life for an extended period of time.
Now this morning we're taking a closer look at the C-130 aircraft. Its first flight was in 1954, designed with a high wing. It has a roll-on roll-off loading ramp in the back. Both of those make it really easy to load. It can carry troops or cargo, even airdrop equipment or personnel into battle zones. It is the longest continuous military plane in history. Now many of you, of course, in Central Georgia are pretty familiar with these C-130s. Back in February at Robins Air Force Base, Brigadier General John Kubinick announced that all Navy and Marine Corps C-130 maintenance will now be based at Robins. Kubinick says by 2021 they expect to work on 15 to 20 of those planes a year. Now, just to be clear, the C-130 that crashed in Savannah is not connected to Robins Air Force Base in any way. It was from the 156th Air Wing out of Puerto Rico. The Associated Press reports the plane was 60 years old and the crew was on a mission to retire it. Military officials have not yet released the names of those on board. If you would like to know more details on the crash, we have the full timeline on 13.